Hare Krishna, Ruchi Mataji. Should we begin?
Yes.
We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 6, text 26 through 30. Okay, we'll begin with the prayers. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraят Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So today we are reading from text 26 through text 30. Would you like to read, Ruchi Mataji?
You can start. I'll join after two texts.
Sure. Text 26. Yayorstatsnana Vibhrastam Navakunkuma Pinjaram Vitrishoapi Pibanti Ambaha Payayanto Gajagaji. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After the damsels of the heavenly planets bathe in the water, it becomes yellowish and fragrant due to the kunkuma from their bodies. Thus, the elephants come to bathe there with their wives, and the she elephants, and they also drink the water, although they are not thirsty. So, this is text 26, 27. Tarahe Maharatna Vimana Shatasankulam Justam Punyajanastribhiryathakham Shatadid Ghanam. Translation: the airplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky decorated with occasional flashes of electric lightning. Purport: the airplanes described in this verse are different from the airplanes of which we have experience. In the Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Vedic literatures, there are many descriptions of Vimana, which means airplanes. On different planets, there are different kinds of airplanes. On this gross planet Earth, there are airplanes run by machines, but on other planets, the airplanes are not run by are run not by machines but by mantric hymns. They are also used specially for enjoyment by the denizens of the heavenly planets so that they can go from one planet to another. On other planets, which are called Siddhalokas, the denizens can travel from one planet to another without airplanes. Um, they can go from one planet to another. The beautiful airplanes from the heavenly planets are compared here. The beautiful airplanes from the heavenly planets are compared here to the sky because they fly in the sky. The passengers are compared to the clouds. The beautiful damsels, the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets, are compared to lightning. In summation, the airplanes with their passengers, which come from higher planets to Kailash, were very pleasant to look at. Text 28. Ruchimataji, would you like to read?
Okay. Hitva Yakshevara Purim Vanantadandikam Chatat Punekam Yudhira Chitramalya Khalakshade. Can you scroll down because I'm reading from the
Sure.
screen further down because I can read the translation. Translation: While traveling, the demigods passed over the forest known as Saugandika, which is full of varieties of flowers, fruits, and desired trees. While passing over the forest, they also saw the regions of Yakshevara. Purport: Yakshevara is also known as Kuber, and he is the treasurer of the demigods. In the descriptions of him in the Vedic literatures, it is stated that he is fabulously rich. It appears from these verses that Kailash is situated near the residential quarters of Kuber. It is also stated here that forest was full of desired trees. In Brahma Samhita, we learn about the desired tree which is found in the spiritual world, especially in Krishna Loka, the abode of Lord Krishna. We learn here that such desired trees are also found in Kailash, the residence of Lord Shiva, by the grace of Krishna. It thus appears that Kailash has a special significance. It is almost like the residence of Lord Krishna. Text 29. Rakta Kantha Khaganika Swara Mandita Satpadam Kalahan Sikula Prishtham Karadanda Jalashayam. Can you go down? Translation: In that celestial forest there were many birds whose necks were colored reddish and whose sweet sound mixed with the humming of the breeze. The lakes were abundantly decorated with flying swans as well as strong stemmed lotus flowers. Purport: The beauty of the forest was intensified by the presence of various lakes. It is described herein that the lakes were decorated with lotus flowers and with swans who played and sang with the birds and the humming bees. Considering all these attributes, one can imagine how beautiful this spot was and how much the demigods passing through enjoyed the atmosphere. There are many parks and beautiful spots created by man on this planet Earth, but none of them can surpass those of Kailash as they are described in these verses.
Ruchimataji, other
Mhm.
devotees have also joined. If anybody would like to read text 30, which is the last verse, maybe we can give them the opportunity to read. Matajis, any of you would like to read text 30? Okay, Ruchi Mataji, please go ahead. I think that.
वनकुञ्जरा सङ्घर्षा हरिचन्दवायुना अधिकन्या जनास्त्रीणां मुहुर्मुहुः Mathayan Manohar purport. Can you scroll down? Translation: all these atmospheric influences unsettle the forest elephants who flocked together in the sandalwood forest, and the blowing wind agitated the mind of the damsels there for further sexual enjoyment. Purport: whenever there is a nice atmosphere in the material world, immediately there is an awakening of the sexual appetite in the minds of materialistic persons. This tendency is present everywhere within this material world, not only on this earth but in higher planetary systems as well. In complete contrast with the influence of the atmosphere on the minds of the living entities within the material world is the description of the spiritual world. The women there are hundreds and thousands of times more beautiful than the women here in the material world, and the spiritual atmosphere is also many times better. Yet, despite the better atmosphere, spiritual world, spiritually wonderful there's so much of talking the spiritual vibration, chanting the glories of the Lord, that such enjoyment could not be surpassed by any other enjoyment, even sex, which is the culmination of all pleasure in the material world. In other words, the Kumbha world, in spite of its better atmosphere and facilities, there is no impetus for sex life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtiva Nivar, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are so spiritually enlightened that in the presence of such spirituality, sex life is insignificant.
Thank you so much for reading, Ruchi Mataji. Would you like to share anything?
Let me try to open because I can't see from the beginning what I read.
We
So,
began with text 26.
well, so it is basically describing how Kailash is like very beautiful
Ruchi
and
Mataji, there is a little bit of noise um, in the background. So it will be very helpful if you come a little
actually
closer to
I'm not
your
feeling too well.
phone.
I'm not feeling too well, so maybe somebody else can read because I'm not feeling too well today.
Sure. Yeah, you can chime in whenever you want. Okay. Okay, I'll share a little bit and then maybe Ruchi Mataji can share because she also read like the final verses of today's reading. So, um, yeah, as we read last week, there is a very beautiful description of Kailash with many, many beautiful flowers, lotuses, and the place where Mother Sati would take her bath, Alakananda, the lake. And it is said it, there in the descriptions that sometimes ladies from the heavenly planets would also come to take their bath. And in this purport, there is this description that after they took the bath in the water, it would become yellowish because of the kumkuma. Kumkuma is the red colored um, powder that comes from plants, which people in Vedic tradition would use. And then the elephants would also come to bathe there with their wives. And so basically, this forest was covered with many, many flower bearing trees as well as animals, which were um, which were residing in the forest of Kailash. And in text 27, there is another beautiful description, and Prabhupada concludes by saying it just means that the whole atmosphere was very, very pleasant to look at. So the description is that of the denizens of heaven, the who came there. So they came there with their wives, and um, they were the wives of the heavenly denizens looked very beautiful. They were wearing jewelry with pearls and gold and many other jewels. And the comparison here is to the clouds in the sky, decorated with occasional flashes of electric lightning. So they would descend to Kailash using their Vimana. Vimana is an airplane, and Prabhupada describes that there are different kinds of airplanes. Here we use mechanical airplanes to ascend into the sky and travel, but people knew how to use airplanes, and by chanting they like mantras, mantric hymns he calls it. So by using those mantras, those subtle sound vibrations, they were able to go from one planet to another planet, not just one place to another place on the same planet, but even from one planet to another planet. So there are places called the lokas, and the persons can travel from one planet to another planet using mantras. And in the description, the airplanes are compared to the sky, and the passengers are compared to the clouds, and the beautiful damsels, or the wives of the denizens of heavenly planets, who were bedecked with very beautiful jewelry, are compared to lightning, because they had this dazzling jewels that they were wearing. So basically, the idea that is being conveyed through these verses is that the passengers from Kailash were very, very pleasant to look at, and the whole atmosphere was very pleasant, and this whole scenario of the heavenly denizens descending from the sky was very pleasant. And then in text 28, there is description of a forest named as Saugandhika, which is full of varieties of flowers and desired trees and fruits. And from there, they were also able to see the forest of Kuvera. It is described as regions of Yaksheshwara, who is Kuvera. So Kuvera is actually the demigod of, or the treasurer of the demigods. So he was extremely rich. And we also have the reference of Kuvera in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that he was the father of Manigriva and Nalakuvera. So the same Kuvera it resides close to Kailash. So his um, that area where Kuvera resides is also full of desired trees. And Prabhupada says actually these desire trees are also present in Krishna Loka, the abode of Lord Krishna, and the descriptions are given in Brahma Samhita. So the same desire trees are also present on Kailash, the residence of Lord Shiva. So Kailash is a very, very special place. It's the residing place of Lord Shiva, who is a great Vaishnava and who is the foremost among the devotees of Lord Krishna. And he is a great demigod, and he is endowed with opulences almost equal to Lord Krishna. So, but Prabhupada is making the point that it is by the grace of the Lord that he enjoys such opulence. But then in text 29 and 30, he also describes about the renunciation of a devotee who has experienced the sweetness of Krishna. So in text 29, it is said that In that celestial forest of Kailash, um, where Kuvera and Lord Shiva reside, there are birds whose necks are colored reddish and who have very sweet voices. That and there is also the humming of the bees, and the lakes are abundantly decorated with swans and long strong stemmed lotus flowers. So we had heard about this description of Saugandhika, the place of Saugandhika, which is decorated with many, many lotuses. So, in the region of Kailash, there are all these beautiful birds, animals, fruits, flowers, trees, which are very, very special. The trees are actually desire trees. And the beauty of the forest was intensified by the presence of various lakes. So, in this beautiful forest, there were many, many lakes. And wherever there is a body of water, usually the um, beauty of that place is enhanced. And not only that, those lakes were decorated with lotus flowers and with swans and singing birds and bees. So one can just imagine, like, how beautiful that place must be, within the mountains of Himalayas, which is covered, the peaks are covered with snow. And in between all of that, there is this beautiful lake with budding, growing lotus flowers. And in between that, there are swans and the chirping of the birds within that lake. So it was so pleasant and so sweet that it attracted even the demigods to come and enjoy the atmosphere. And yeah, and Prabhupada makes this comparison that actually there are many, many man made creations within the earth, but none of them can compare to the beauty of nature in Kailash. And in text 30, it is described that, yeah, the denizens of heaven were descending there in Kailash. And within this very, very beautiful atmosphere, their minds were getting agitated for sexual enjoyment. And this is actually very natural for a conditioned soul, and Prabhupada points that out in the purport, that whenever there is a nice atmosphere, people think of sexual enjoyment. And so this tendency is not only present within the human beings who reside on earth, but across the entire material creation, whether it's the lower planetary systems or the higher planetary systems. And so this is pervasive. This tendency to enjoy, like, separate from Krishna, is pervasive throughout the three worlds. But in contrast to that is the position of persons who are very dedicated to Krishna, including Lord Shiva, because he is the greatest of Vaishnavas. So the uniqueness of such entities who are spiritually elevated because of their attraction to the Supreme Lord is that they're not attracted to sex life at all. Why? Prabhupada often gives this example that if there is a particular enjoyment, and if there is a pleasure that is higher than the enjoyment that we are experiencing now, then we will give up the lower enjoyment for a higher enjoyment. And we may have experienced this in our own lives in Krishna consciousness, that we previously had a particular kind of inclination to eat certain kinds of foods, and now, like, after coming to Krishna consciousness, we don't crave for those same kinds of foods. We don't want to go back to those same kind of foods. And similarly, we may have had a particular kind of association, um, the particular style of books that we read before, and now things have changed. I can remember from my own life what I used to like, and now I would not go back to those same longings after coming to Krishna consciousness. Not just because it's rules, it's because my taste has also changed. So, this is actually the glory of chanting the holy name of the Lord. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one very quickly gets elevated from any material contamination, whether it's in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, and one can be situated on the spiritual platform. And when one experiences the taste of serving the Supreme Lord, one will not crave for lower enjoyments. Of course, that is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that this transformation in our hearts can take place, and we have to very carefully avoid the offenses, because one may go back to these lower tendencies if the mercy of the Lord is withdrawn by by because of our offenses. So, but that is the essence of what Prabhupada is uh, expressing, and what we may have also experienced in our own life in Krishna consciousness. Um, and through the lives of the devotees who were touched by Srila Prabhupada, we can see that, like, um, Prabhupada was very, very kind to many, many people from many, many backgrounds. He never judged them, but he saw the spark of a spark of their attraction to Krishna. Uh, he saw them as parts of Krishna, as parts and parcels of Krishna, and any little bit of attraction that they exhibited towards Krishna, he fanned the spark. I'll end with the story of Mother Krishna Nandini, who was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Um, she was black bodied, and she and her mother were living along with her many other family members. Actually, they were a family of 6 or 7, I don't remember, but it was a big family. And they were living in a temple in Cleveland, and the Hare Krishna temple in Cleveland. But then they had some misunderstanding with the authorities in the temple, and they actually went um, they actually went from Cleveland driving. They did not know where they were going, but they left, and they wanted to find another temple where they could stay, and they ended up in Dallas. And when they ended up in Dallas, like the temple actually was very shocked to receive this family from nowhere whom they did not know. But at the same time, like, they welcomed them. And that was the nice part about temples back then, that they welcomed anybody who wanted to spiritually advance. So they welcomed them, and they said, Prabhupada is coming tomorrow, so you can stay for a day or two. And when they stayed, actually, the mother was so, she always was attracted to Prabhupada's teachings, but when she met Prabhupada, like, she was so much moved by the presence of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada also reciprocated in the same way. He did not know who they were, from where they had come, if they were chanting 16 rounds or if they were following the regulative principles. He didn't try to judge them based on any of these things, but he saw a spark of attraction of Krishna Nandini Mataji's mother. And he said on the day of Radhashtami, he was performing initiations, and he initiated all of them. Krishna Nandini Mataji's mother and her sisters, and then I think there was a very young boy, one of them, his brother, her brother was very young. So because he was very, very young, he did not initiate him, but he initiated everybody else. And the joy of being close to Krishna is such that one can of course sometimes some endeavor is required, but at the same time, when Krishna attracts our hearts, nothing else compares to it. So this is what is the meaning of Param Drishtva Nivartate. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha were so spiritually enlightened that in the presence of such spirituality, sex life is insignificant. So it is not that, people are always have to grudge their teeth and think, oh my God, like, why do I have to give up all these enjoyments? It's like so austere. If Of course we may feel like that for some period of time, but if we continue to cultivate our Krishna consciousness, the same things which once attracted us in material life will not continue to attract us. Our our um, our um, level of consciousness would have progressed by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord to a different place. And we don't have to, in fact, the enjoyments of the material world are some kind of suffering, whether it's subtle enjoyments of the mind or gross enjoyments of the body. Eventually, like, they will not satisfy us deeply. First of all, because they're not eternal, they will not last forever. And the same time, like, the deep longing of the soul can only be satisfied by a connection with the Supreme Lord, not by anybody else of this world. So Srila Prabhupada has come to give us this gift of elevating our consciousness to become attracted and very dear to the Supreme Lord. And we have this opportunity to accept the gift fully from Srila Prabhupada. So I'll stop here, and many other devotees are on the call. So if anybody would like to speak, and I'm sorry, I think Ruchi Mataji felt offended, but I just wanted to hear her better instead of getting lost in the noise and not being able to hear at all what she's speaking. But I'm sorry for offending Ruchi Mataji. I think she disconnected herself from the call. So sorry about that.
Thank you very much, Leela Manjari Mataji. And thank you for that story. I guess it's, like you said, it's a true story. And I like when you were talking about the fact that Prabhupada didn't judge these people. He didn't know them very well. He didn't know them at all, really. And that's very, very important for for myself as I go along in Krishna consciousness, as I talk about Krishna to other people, that I do it in such a way that I'm not judging them for who they are, and I'm not just not judging, I'm not pushing them to do things that they're not comfortable doing. I think it is very true that once you begin to experience, I mean, I have noticed a lot of changes in myself since beginning Krishna consciousness. And certain things just are not very palatable or attractive to me as they once were. Associating with certain people is not such an exciting thing, or I would say my association has been changing quite a bit. And other things, in our practice, for instance, I've been doing service. I mean, not to the degree some other people have, but I've been doing a lot of service in the ways that I can perform service. And I've been doing that prior to actually having um, an altar in my house, prior to changing the pots and pans and plates and all these different things. I went the other direction because, not because I wasn't interested, but because I had to consider another person in my house who was not accepting these things. And all of a sudden now this other person is accepting the fact that I'm, you know, doing all this, and is saying, hey, I have no problem. You can offer your food. You can get different pots and pans. You can get different plates. And sometimes when I do those things in the beginning, I'm doing it now. So I feel like my consciousness is going to elevate quite a bit because of I won't be incurring the karma. Okay. And it's interesting how we have to do these things when it's time, that nobody can really push us, or should not judge us. So you see, I don't want to be judging other people either, because we don't know what their circumstances are. And I just know if I feel overwhelmed or pushed, I can feel it in my consciousness. I feel the pull towards material life again. So I really think it's important to do these things when the time is right, because then, like you were saying, Leela Mandri, it won't even feel like you are like it's so difficult, or it's so austere, such tapasya and all of this. It doesn't feel that way to me now. But if I get pushed, then it feels like it's tapasya, like it's too much. I can't handle it. I don't know if that's part of my material conditioning. Obviously, it must be. But I think we all have to come to a higher consciousness when we can handle it, I guess is what I was going to say. And everybody's a little bit different. So I want to thank you for saying that. I'm going through all kinds of changes here in my home right now. This should have been the first thing I had done, but that just wasn't a possibility for me. And so, it feels really nice to be able to do it. That's all I can say. It's not something I'd want to change either. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Govardhan Leela Mataji, for sharing that experience from your personal life. I feel that, it's very, very important to be sensitive to the feelings of other people who are around us, because I made a lot of many, many mistakes. Because not that I was insensitive, but I just did not know, I was not mature enough to deal with a lot of things when I was new to Krishna consciousness. And I made so many mistakes that some of the relationships are irreparable at this point. Like it seems like that. I mean, I'm sure there is possibility of repair, but I made many, many mistakes. So it's not you know just to follow some rules. It's not very intelligent to break our relationships or push them to such an extent that that they are so scarred, um, to get them back. So whatever you have done is very wise.
Hare Krishna. I want to say that I too have made many mistakes. many mistakes with relationships with devotees, as well as mistakes on how I execute my Krishna consciousness within my family, kind of like what Govardhan Leela was saying. When you live amongst non devotees, you have to consider how this foreign um, understanding of who God is, how it affects others, non devotees within your life. And I know that I don't feel that when I had made the decision, well, actually, it was kind of like it felt like I was being pulled, actually, um, you know, to go to Mayapur the last time. Um, just my, you know, I, I write one email and practically, the school was like, oh, yes, we want you. And, after I, you know, gave them lots of information about, my teaching experience and my credentials and stuff. And so being so drawn, like just in the mood of service that I wanted to serve the Lord and I wanted to see what the Holy Dham was. And I wanted to be there. I wanted to grow as a devotee. And um, and it happening so fast where it scared my children. They became fearful that they were going to lose their mom to what they thought was a cult that just swallowed people up. They were in the mindset of the 1960s of the cults that, you know, my son used to at the very beginning, he'd be like, "Are you drinking, the Kool-Aid?" Because there was a cult um, that everybody committed suicide by drinking Kool-Aid. Anyways, so yeah, yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, he was laughing, but the gist was, they were very fearful, and then within a month or two, whatever, I was not boarding a plane. They became very fearful, and so just being torn between trying to keep a balance within your own life, but also doing what you need to do to move forward because this is my chance um, to create and nurture a relationship with Krishna. And so just being torn with, anyway, so I got the desire again because, I think deep within my mind, it was like, okay, my daughter has to get married. I have to feel settled that my son is in a position also. And these things my daughter got married, my son, he's engaged and will be married in September. And so the desire again happened and I got very fearful. I was like, am I going to put them, is there going to be a spiral of my kids falling apart, as they did when I returned, which I wasn't aware of, like during the months that I was there. They didn't really make myself feel too guilty. But when I got back home, they made me felt very guilty. And so I, just having this desire again, what to do, how to do it. And I'm just happy to say that, like, when I made the decision, yes, this is what I want to do, within like 2 weeks, or the first week, I was able to tell Stacy. And the second week I was able to tell Alex, and it's just amazing how my daughter, oh my gosh, she cried for a couple minutes. I don't know. I don't know exactly how long. And then she turned around, she just started asking questions on how it would affect me, what my situation would be there if if I could take a balanced uh, what she thought would be a balanced approach to doing this. And oh, now you have someone maybe you can share this with, being that Sri Devi's going. And it just she just started asking questions, and I have to say that it is the mercy of Gurudev and Krishna that she was able to, just very maturely and very givingly, um, just be concerned about me, which I have to say, it also has to do with, her becoming a vegetarian, uh, and almost vegan exclusively, and being fed a lot of prasadam over the last 3.5, 4 years, as well. That she looked beyond herself, and she began, you know, understanding that, that this is something that I need to do. And then my son, of course, a little bit more turmoil because he's a controlling personality, um, but also accepting it. And it's amazing how, like Krishna, he does. I have to say, anytime that there's, because I prayed to him, I said, Krishna, if this is what you want, um, then allow it to be in a way, please, if you so desire, allow it to be in a way that my kids can understand, um, and it allow it to be a time where I can, my attachment to them can, could be a natural, us pulling away into different directions, and not be too tumultuous and hurtful to anybody. And I just have to say, um, Krishna is just so sweet, and he allowed that to happen so nicely.
Hmm.
One side. That's all I have to share. That yeah, I just can't even imagine. Just with one small prayer, he does that. Like how when we get to the spiritual world, and when we're interacting with him, how sweet it's gonna be.
Hmm.
And hopefully I come to a position where I can be that sweet person that, that is worth association with him. Anyway, and all his devotees. Hare
Hmm.
Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Manasikanga Mataji. It's very true. Like, when Krishna wants something to happen, and if we have been praying for it, then everything just falls into place. There is no effort needed from our side.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Yeah. And I just, it's all under this umbrella, if something is to enhance our devotional life, um, he's right there, no hesitation. He's there to um, to put things in place. Yeah. And I think also one has to have that understanding, that faith that that he that he will do it too, that he will, you know, not to expect it or whatever, but just to have the faith that like he cares, and that in his own way, however it is, that he will arrange. Um,
Mm.
yeah, because if I didn't have that faith that he would do that, I don't know that things that have so miraculously happened in my devotional life, if they would have happened. It's, I think, that faith that they will happen, and then also that just giving him the room to do it. Just, not to say, oh, I want this, I want that, but just allowing it to happen in his way, and then appreciating it. I think those are all
Mm.
important in that whole package.
Mm. Very true, Mataji. Yeah, the more actually, I read something very nice from. I think it was one of the quotes by Radhanath Maharaj that what we see as surrender becomes very beautiful for a devotee. So the more we can surrender to the Lord, like our life becomes much sweeter and nicer.
Yeah, I think that like I couldn't prior to now, I couldn't let go of that what if, that fear, that, you know, but when I just surrendered, like you got the word, surrendered, and said, Krishna, this is what you want. Um, Please make it in a way that the kids can understand, and that I can make that step towards, you know, detaching. Actually, I mean, this is a stage in life. I guess Vanaprastha or whatever,
Mm.
where
Yes.
it's natural, but in a Greek family, that's definitely not natural. But you kind of like move into your kid's house and help them raise the grandkids and all that. So, and that was what had been talked about for so many years. Also, so, but it still can, it'll happen. It's going to be, a merging of, trying to follow the path, and then, but if, but it's, my path as well, with all the things that, you know, that make it, the people in my life and expectations and stuff like that. But I have faith, it'll work. Anyway, I don't want to continue talking about myself. I don't like that. So I'm sorry.
Thank you for sharing, Mataji. It's Krishna's pastimes do not happen only in Golaka Vrindavan. Krishna's pastimes are happening with all of his devotees. And when we witness Krishna's mercy in our lives, so it's about Krishna. It's not so much about us.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your.
Primarasa, would you like to add anything?
I just wanted to thank you all because actually, when we hear personal realization, it touches us even more because when we hear like pastimes that are narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam and other books, then we may be feeling that, oh, they are pure devotees. Krishna is reciprocating with them because of their devotion, and or we may just think that, oh, this is a pastime that Krishna is instrumenting in their lives. But when we hear mm, um, reciprocation of Krishna in our own very lives, then I have felt that actually our faith increases a lot. And when the faith increases, then devotion increases as well. So, bhakti is when we share um, our realizations and our inspirations. So, I feel that in discussions like this, it brings devotees together, and it also brings us closer to Krishna. So I just wanted to thank you all for sharing your realizations. Something I was thinking about is that like even when we go for book distribution, something that I have noticed is that um, to touch somebody's heart is not something that we can do by ourselves unless and until there is Krishna's intervention in that conversation. So um, like Mansi Ganga Mataji was sharing and Gordhanila Mataji was sharing, you were sharing, that it is very important that when we are in a devotional mode and we are praying to Krishna to help us, that's the only way that we can actually touch somebody's life, whether it's our own family or whether it's a stranger, whether it's anybody. So that's where my heart, my thoughts were going to, is that when we are in that prayerful mode, and surrendering unto Krishna, that Krishna, it's your will that needs to manifest, and I'm here just trying to do whatever is most pleasing to you. uh, then we see that so many miracles happen, and it just inspires us even more and more to go in forward in that direction, saying that, Krishna, everything is in your hands. I'm simply here just to please you in whatever little ways I can. And I guess, that's what is the mode of a devotee. Unfortunately, I feel that I'm not in that mode all the time. It just comes and goes. But whenever such mode comes, then it's a very sweet exchange. Like she's saying, Mataji also is expressing how sweet it is when Krishna reciprocates with us. And it's this similar sweet feeling that we all feel in our hearts. So just wanted to share that. Thank you all very much. Sorry, I'm having this trouble speaking because I think as I'm getting closer to the days of delivering eventually, I'm realizing that I'm having trouble speaking a lot. So I'm just trying to keep it quiet and just like to hear the classes, because I'm having the shortness of breath because of pregnancy. So I'm not able to speak that much, or so just wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Premal,
you.
for sharing.
When is your delivery date? Are you like 6 months
Yeah,
now?
I'm
Yeah.
close to 7 months now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when it starts getting difficult.
Hmm. I'm realizing that, like, I'm finding myself getting more tired, and even chanting is getting a little difficult because I can't say the mantra aloud because of this shortness of breath that I'm having. So I have to say it softly and then still try to hear what I'm saying. So it's a change that I have to make now. No, whatever. Yeah.
Just keep
Thank you,
relaxed and
Mataji.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, devotees. It's almost time to end our reading for today, and we'll meet again tomorrow. Thank you all
Hare
very
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank